This is Loud Lullaby. It's a 110 RPM hand cannon with a 92 impact stat and a painful reload speed. However, with the right drop, it can be very powerful. Now that you've seen the weapon fire, let's take a more thorough look at the gun itself. In an effort to make the guns that I'm using for this video even, I've swapped to an extended mag so each weapon has the same amount of rounds per reload. Now, Lullaby is not very stable, and it sure doesn't handle very well, but it does have massive stopping power and it excels in critical damage. This is the Austringer. It has an 84 impact stat with a masterwork reload speed stacked on an enhanced loader mod. Just like with the last weapon, let's take a look at the gun itself via my inventory. As you can see, it's incredibly stable, it handles well, and its 51 in range lets it hit from roughly 15 to 20 meters away before taking any sort of damage fall off. Now that you've seen each weapon and its perks, I'm going to put the two of these to the test to see whether or not the Loud Lullaby is actually worth using. In K1 Logistics specifically, where this footage was taken, at a 915 power level, Loud Lullaby will hit for 29.94 per body shot and 53.92 per critical hit, both at minimum range. We're going to do a bit of math while this footage plays in the background. Keep in mind, enemy shielding is not factored into this experiment. This is just a general observation of what these guns can potentially do. Let's say that I hit every target in this lost sector square in the chest and I never miss a single round. By that logic, we could take its base damage, 29.94, and multiply that by its 11-round magazine. At 110 rounds per minute, this weapon has the potential to deal 32,994 damage per magazine, and that's only with body shots. Now, let's take it one step further. If we take the max potential damage output and multiply that by the amount of rounds the gun can fire in a single minute, that total amounts to 3,622,740. That is a very large amount of damage, and all of that is based on just an assumed body shot. Again, we can go even further with this. Let's say for a moment that I hit every target square in its face, constantly dealing critical damage. At that point, we would take the base critical damage and multiply that by the gun's mag size, and we would have a much larger potential damage output. If I fired a single magazine from Lullaby and hit everybody in the head, I would push a potential 59,312 damage. And just like last time, we can take that total and multiply it by the max RPM. And when we do that, we get a potential maximum damage output of 6,524,320. Numbers like that give my tumbly the rumblies because they have 7 digits. Now, let's take a look at the Austringer. Same scenario, same power level, same location, different gun. In this lost sector specifically, it hits for 27.85 on a body shot. If I hit every target square in the chest at minimum range, we would have a total potential damage output of 30,635. Roughly 3,000 less than the Lullaby, but the aggressive handling and higher RPM stat could potentially make up for it. If we took that number and multiplied it by the max RPM for this gun, being 140, we get a total potential damage output of 4,288,900 over the course of a single minute. Because its RPM is higher, the Austringer actually comes out stronger in this specific scenario. Again, let's assume I didn't miss a single shot and I hit every target square in their face. In K1 Logistics, scaled at 915, Austringer crits for 4,166. Now, if we took that damage and multiplied it by its mag size, we would get a potential damage output of 45,826. This time, significantly weaker than the Lullaby. To be exact, there's actually a potential damage loss of 13,486. So roughly 3 extra rounds would have to be fired for a single Austringer mag to match a single Lullaby mag. Now, when we look at the maximum critical damage by RPM, things are significantly different. If we took the maximum potential damage output, 45,826, and we multiplied that by the weapon's RPM, we'd get a total of 6,415,640. The Austringer would take a damage loss of 108,680 in comparison to the Lullaby's maximum potential critical damage. The Austringer would have to fire an additional 26 rounds if it were to break even or maybe surpass. 3 or 4 additional rounds doesn't really mean all that much when we're talking about guns that can put 110 or 140 rounds down range in a single minute, but we're talking about roughly 2.5 mags worth of damage loss. This effect could also be increased significantly with the addition of a rampage modifier or an extended mag, a minor spec, or so on and so forth on either side. But the original point behind this video was to see which weapon was capable of out-damaging the other, and while there are still some experiments that I need to run in the Crucible before I'm completely done with this gun, I do feel like it's safe to say that Lullaby is indeed the more reliable weapon, depending on the stat rolls and perk sets. So, synopsis? Well, realistically, I did all this experimentation simply because I love the Austringer and it's one of the highest DPS hand cannons in the game, even still after the launch of Shadowkeep. Being a connoisseur of hand cannons, I wanted to see whether or not Lullaby was able to compete and hold its own against arguably one of the best guns in the game. But to tell the truth, even after all this work to get this video together, I still hate this gun. My guess is that a good portion of that comes from me having to farm an amount higher than I'm comfortable disclosing. And honestly, I just hate the word lullaby at this point. Anything that has to do with Loud Lullaby, I can't stand it right now. But back to the point, Loud Lullaby really is an excellent weapon. It performs and then some. Even though I have a strong, passionate hatred for 110 hand cannons, excluding ones that drop with rapid hit, this is a good gun. Now, I dislike those because the damage never really seems to compensate for such a slow fire rate and reload speed, but for the Lullaby, the damage numbers are there. The only thing that the Austringer can outpace Lullaby in is standard body damage. The numbers do not lie. Lullaby is actually a fantastic weapon, and depending on the drop, it could be even better. So if you've been dismantling this gun every time you get it, I would advise perhaps you hold on to it and see what it can do for yourself. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It took an exceptional amount of time and testing, and I honestly don't really want to talk about how many Loud Lullabies I have in my inventory/vault. It's actually a little sad, and I might have a slight problem. But don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ellipsis. Only if you feel so inclined, though. You know the drill. Jayboy out.